Last summer, I went to space. Well, not exactly how you're thinking. I was selected out of a small group of teachers to attend the Space Academy for Educators in Huntsville, Alabama. I got to experience what it would be like to walk on the moon that has 1/6 less gravity than the Earth. I got to command the Space Shuttle Atlantis, which is 1 out of 5 different shuttles that ever got launched to space. I got to take part in a futuristic mission to the moon. And it was there that I got to perform an EVA, which means I got to wear the cool white suit and go outside the habitat. I got to experience what it would be like to spin out of control and mimic your spacecraft coming in for re-entry. Are you able to continue your mission, or are you going to get disoriented? I met a lot of friends down there, and I keep in contact with a lot of them. But the most important thing I think I'll take away is my newfound passion to explain how space is so cool and share the love that I have. When I was in high school, I gravitated towards the science classes. I enjoyed experimenting in the lab. I enjoyed learning about the subject that explained my life. As I ventured on into college, I majored in science. I moved down to the islands and I taught kids about the ocean, on the ocean. I discovered that I had this passion for science, and it worked very well in the classroom. You see, I'm a lifelong learner, and I never stop learning. I enroll in workshops, I take classes, and I use those experiences to help expand my mind and expand my knowledge. I'm kind of geeking out about space this year, if you couldn't tell, and I know quite a bit about the International Space Station. This is a working science lab that travels around the Earth at 17,500 miles per hour, which is pretty darn fast. The astronauts on board are seeing a sunrise every hour and a half. Isn't that amazing? The resources that the astronauts have on the International Space Station are precious. Everything that they need, they have to bring up from the Earth, so they can't waste it. One of those precious resources is water. Let me give you an example. When an astronaut's brushing their teeth, they squirt a little water on their toothbrush, brush their teeth, and they got to swallow the toothpaste. There's nowhere to spit it out. And they got to conserve the water. When they're taking a bath, they'll squirt water onto a washcloth, push that water into the washcloth, because with microgravity, it just hovers around the washcloth. They rinse their body with a no-rinse soap, and that's their bath. No showers or real baths for them. So I decided to propose a challenge for my students. I gave them a sample that kind of looked like pee, but it really wasn't. It was lemon juice, water, salt, food coloring, some cotton balls, and some glitter for effect. And the challenge was to filter this mixture and experience what the life control and support systems on the ISS, what they do to filter water so it's drinkable for the astronauts. Now the girls were really up to the challenge. The goal was to try to get it clear, to get the pH to neutral, which means it's not too acidic or basic, to get the conductivity low, which means to not have it be electrified. And the girls really enjoyed this. In fact, one group actually drank their sample, if you can believe that. I knew something special was happening when they asked to do the experiment again the next day. To ride this wave of space enthusiasm, we decided to have a party, because who doesn't like parties, right? But we decided to have a party for a particular astronaut. There's astronauts landing all the time, and you don't really hear about it unless you're really paying attention to NASA.gov. But the particular astronaut I wanted the girls to know about was Scott Kelly. And Scott Kelly is a special astronaut. He's an identical twin, and it turns out his brother's an astronaut as well. But on this particular mission, his brother didn't go out in space. Scott Kelly was up on the International Space Station for 1 full year. This is the longest consecutive trip any astronaut has ever done. And what's unique about his experience is that the information that we're learning from his body is going to help us on long-term missions to the moon and even to Mars. Scientists are watching how his muscle mass has degraded. You see, he went up to space in March 2014, and he returned in March 2015. actually it's 15 and 16, his muscles have gotten weaker, his bones have gotten weaker, and actually his eyesight has degraded. And all this information will help us in long-term stay in microgravity. So of course, you know, parties, that's what we do. We like to have parties, right? We made space food. We got really into that. And we had a photo booth, welcome home Scott Kelly, Mars or Bust. The information that we're learning from his experience will help drive that next astronaut or space degree that these girls can obtain. I had the opportunity to participate in a program this year, and it was voluntary, and I managed to get 1/3 of the 8th grade girls to participate. And the program is called Cubes in Space. Now the girls got together and they designed an experiment to fit in this tiny little cube. And the idea was design an experiment that they would have to approve worthy of space flight, and they had to justify, like, what are we going to learn from this? So the girls, if you see in the top left corner, the white little circles, those are super absorbent polymers. And when those things are hydrated, they can increase to the size of a marble. And what happens is the girls decided maybe we can use these things up on the International Space Station to grow plants and have the astronauts grow their own food so we don't have to bring it up in the initial rocket launch. We could also use this on our trip to Mars and grow food on Mars, kind of like The Martian, if you ever read that book. The only problem is we can't hydrate these things on the rocket because of regulations. So what we're going to look at is if these little spheres are going to maintain the amount of water that they soak up on Earth. Will they do the same thing after they've been to space? Well, it turns out Cubes in Space really like this idea, and they approved us for a rocket launch this June. And we're going to be launched on a sounding rocket, which is a unique rocket. It doesn't have any life on board. But this rocket will make a 7-minute round trip, 2 minutes in space, and a splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean. They actually liked our experiment so much that they approved us for a second launch, but on a different vehicle, a high-altitude balloon. And this thing, when it's fully, when it expands to its full capacity, it's as big as the Ford Field Dome. And it can lift a payload the size of a Ford Explorer. So we're going to be sending our experiment on that as well. It's going to be exposed to high radiation, very low pressures, and very low temperatures. So we're pretty excited for that. How could you not be excited about space right now? I have the opportunity to teach the next astronaut, physician, scientist, and engineer. Your generation is going to have so many changes in science and technology, we don't even know what jobs you're going to have access to. Humans are going to Mars, and they estimate in the year 2033 this might happen. You're going to be about 26 years old, approximately. You can get involved if you want. Now is the time to explore your passion. Sign up for different workshops. We'll expand your mind and help create that hunger for knowledge so you can be a lifelong learner, just like me. Thank you.